My husband cheated on me with my assistant and took my business in the divorce, but he didn't know I'd set a trap that would leave him with nothing. I, F38, spent almost a decade building a boutique marketing firm from scratch. It started in my apartment kitchen. I had a used laptop, a portfolio built from free projects, and zero contacts in the industry. Year by year, I picked up small clients, reinvested every dollar, and built something that could stand on its own. 9 years in, we were pulling in over $1 million annually. Small team, highly specialized. Clients didn't come to us for volume, they came to us because they wanted the brand work no one else could replicate. We were profitable, respected, and tight-knit. And then I made the mistake of bringing my husband into it. Darren was laid off from a mid-tier project management job about 4 years ago. He struggled to get something stable, and I offered him a role at my company. It was mostly strategy and account coordination, nothing on the creative side. He wasn't the brains of the company, he wasn't even the heart, but I gave him a title. I let him call himself co-founder. We merged some of our accounts for tax purposes. I let things blur a little too much out of convenience and marriage trust. That part's on me. At the time, it didn't seem like a big deal. I was still running day-to-day operations. My name was on everything, but I wasn't formal enough about paperwork. And that's how Darren slowly started sliding his way into ownership without ever saying it out loud. 2 years ago, I hired Paige as my assistant. She was smart, quick to learn, and ambitious in a good way. I was grooming her for a bigger role down the line, possibly operations lead if we expanded. She was good at keeping things organized and never overstepped early on. About 6 months after she started, I noticed things started to feel off. Darren was showing up to client meetings he wasn't scheduled for. He started pushing back on decisions in front of other team members. He began referring to himself as the one overseeing strategy, which was never agreed on. Paige didn't say anything, but I caught them chatting privately a lot more than necessary. I brushed it off. I had too much going on. Eventually, I brought it up to Darren, asked why he was inserting himself into meetings that didn't need him. He brushed it off like it was a misunderstanding, said he was just trying to help the team. Paige started to shift around that same time, more closed off, less initiative, like she wasn't sure whose side she was on anymore. Then came the real moment. About 6 months ago, I came home from a work dinner early. Paige had been over supposedly to help prep some materials for an upcoming pitch. She was staying late to help Darren review. I came upstairs and walked past the guest bathroom. Paige walked out in nothing but a towel. Darren came out of the bedroom shirtless, holding a glass of wine. They didn't even scramble. Paige looked surprised for half a second, then smiled and said she'd spilled her drink. Darren acted annoyed, like I was overreacting. I didn't scream. I didn't cry, even though I honestly felt like it. I didn't ask questions. I just nodded and said, okay. Went to the kitchen, sat there for 15 minutes. The next morning, I called a lawyer. Darren played dumb in the beginning, but it escalated quickly when he realized I wasn't just leaving him, I was leaving the company structure too. That's when he hit me with the countersuit. He claimed he was entitled to half the business, said we'd merged finances, said we had email trails showing him collaborating on accounts, even pulled out invoices where his name was listed as partner, which, yeah, I'd allowed casually for years. We ended up in court. The judge sided with him, gave him 51% of the company, citing marital contribution and his involvement in client strategies. I walked away with 49%, no control rights, and a long list of regrets about trusting him to respect what I built. Paige conveniently resigned right before the final ruling to avoid conflict. She was with Darren within a week. They're not subtle about it. After the ruling, Darren rebranded the company, changed the website, fired half the staff that had stayed loyal to me. He's acting like he's the genius behind the whole thing. Most of the clients didn't even realize I was forced out. He's pushing some new image with Paige beside him like they're some creative power couple. But here's the part he didn't know. 8 months ago, before the towel incident, I had already started preparing for something like this. The moment I noticed Darren poking his nose into meetings he had no reason to be in, I got cautious. I created a new LLC under my maiden name, quietly began rerouting client contracts, registered trademarks and copyrights on the creative systems, design templates, and strategy workflows that I'd developed personally, the stuff Darren never touched. Started shifting my core clients to the new entity using license agreements and consulting retainers. Not illegal, just repositioning. Anything under the old company name stayed, but anything new started going through my new brand. When Paige asked about it once, I said it was a side project. She didn't question it. I also had every client interaction logged, every proprietary framework filed under my name with timestamped documentation. Most of it was stuff Darren never even understood. He liked the money, he didn't know what made it come in. So now technically, Darren owns the company name, the old email domain, and the office lease. But the clients, the systems, the brand voice, all licensed out, legally, quietly, authored by me. He thinks he's the boss now. Thinks I lost everything. Meanwhile, I've already onboarded 5 clients to the new brand. My original creative team followed me without hesitation. The only people who stayed were the ones who didn't matter. I'm not naive enough to think this is over. He'll come after me the second he figures out what I've done. But he's not as sharp as he thinks. And for once, I didn't make the mistake of trusting love over leverage. Let him enjoy his castle. I already moved the gold. He's holding a kingdom with no crown. Edit. I've been reading through the comments, and first off, thank you to everyone who took the time to read the full post before jumping in. I'm not here to argue or change anyone's mind, but I do want to clarify a few things since there's a lot of speculation and some confusion about how things went down. Yes, I know I was legally sloppy. That part I fully own. At the time, I trusted my husband. I wasn't some wide-eyed, naive newlywed. I genuinely thought we were a team. When he got laid off, it felt like the right thing to do to bring him into the business. It was growing fast, and I thought he'd handle client strategy while I focused on creative and operations. I never thought he'd turn around and weaponize that against me. Hindsight's 20/20, but at the time I was in love and optimistic. That's not the same as being stupid. About the assistant, Paige, yes, I hired her. She was bright, ambitious, and at first, respectful. I was mentoring her, guiding her through the ropes. I had no idea she'd end up stabbing me in the back like that. Some of you asked how I didn't see it sooner. Honestly, I had my suspicions. That's why I started pulling away from both of them before the bathroom incident. But they were subtle, and I didn't want to accuse anyone without proof. When I saw her in that towel, and him shirtless and looking guilty, that was the moment the switch flipped. Also, to the people saying I should have kicked him out immediately legally, I couldn't. We shared the lease, the utilities, the business. Everything was tangled. I didn't play the victim. I got a lawyer this morning, locked down everything I could, and got serious. I didn't waste time crying about it, I started planning. As for the company and IP, yes, I had already begun shifting things to a new LLC before the divorce. It wasn't illegal, because everything I moved was either personally created by me or had no formal ownership under the original LLC. I consulted with a lawyer before every move I made. I didn't leave a paper trail he could use to fight it, and I wasn't stealing. I was taking back what was mine, quietly. Finally, no, I'm not out for revenge. I'm out for what's mine. I'm not trying to ruin Darren. He did that on his own. I just made sure I wouldn't be standing in the wreckage with him when it happened. More updates are coming. I'm not done yet. But to everyone asking how I stayed calm, because panic is what they expect, I don't give them that satisfaction. Update 1. When Darren went public with his new company, I didn't flinch. I'd been waiting for this moment. He rebranded the business we built on paper, but everyone in the industry knew it was mine, my name, my face, my voice behind every pitch. Still, he rolled it out like he was some visionary. He even called it a strategic shift and posted some vague CEO nonsense on LinkedIn about leadership, pivots, and refining company DNA. The site was basically a watered-down clone of the original one I built years ago. Same colors, same slogan, even the same client logos, except he didn't have the rights to display half of them. I know that because I negotiated the original usage terms myself, and my new LLC holds the updated licensing agreements. But that didn't stop him. What really pissed me off, though, was how he framed my exit. After much reflection, we've decided to move forward with a new direction. I'm grateful to my former partner for the legacy she helped create. That line made me laugh. Darren wouldn't know legacy if it punched him in the face. Paige was back too. On the new site, she's listed as Senior Partner, Client Strategy. Her profile blurb is basically a rewritten version of what I used to say in interviews word for word in some places. She even reused my quote from the 2021 Entrepreneur magazine piece. I don't know if she thought no one would notice or if she just didn't care. I didn't respond publicly. That's not how I work. What I did was start reaching out to clients, quietly, personally. No mass emails or PR stunts. I sent messages to the ones I'd worked with directly: brand leads, CMOs, startup founders, the people who knew my voice, my eye for detail, the way I ran a campaign. I let them know where I was now, and I gave them the real story. I didn't trash Darren or Paige. I just explained that I'd launched a new firm and that the original creative IP they'd trusted me with was now legally tied to my new LLC. I attached the updated decks. A few samples, nothing flashy, just clean, clear proof. Within a week, most of my top-tier clients were either scheduling intro calls or jumping ship immediately. Some told me they'd already been confused by the changeover or that Darren's team wasn't responsive. A few said they were only staying out of loyalty to me, and now that they knew where I was, they were ready to leave. By the end of the month, I had recovered 75% of the business relationships that mattered. Not all of them were huge accounts, but the ones who came back were consistent, honest, and paid on time. That was enough. Meanwhile, I noticed something else. The branding Darren was using wasn't just similar to mine, it was mine. The pitch deck layout? Mine. The campaign templates? Mine. Even the workshop frameworks I built over years, registered under copyright last summer, were being reused. Sloppily, too. I recognized my own typos, so I had my lawyer send over formal cease and desist letters. Trademark infringement? Copyright violation? Misrepresentation of licensed content. It wasn't a bluff. Everything was registered under my maiden name, linked to the new company. I know Darren didn't think I'd go this far. He always assumed I'd fold under pressure or try to keep the peace for the sake of professionalism. I used to. Not anymore. He called me 2 days after the letters went out. I let it go to voicemail. He tried again. The third time, I picked up and put the phone on record. I didn't say anything shady, just let him talk. He sounded rattled. He said I was confusing the clients and causing unnecessary conflict. I told him plainly, you didn't win. You just didn't read the fine print. He tried to spin it, claiming I was being bitter, that the company was in good hands, that I should let it go and focus on healing. I almost laughed at that one. He wanted me to let go of what he took? I didn't yell. I didn't gloat. I just said, you should really check what parts of the company you actually own. Then I hung up. My lawyer followed up by filing a formal IP theft claim. We didn't announce it, just filed it and let the process begin. It's not a criminal case yet, but it's public record. That's enough. A week later, someone I used to work with sent me screenshots. Paige was posting stories on Instagram from the new office Darren rented. She tagged the business account and showed off their new pitch deck, one I made in 2022, just with new colors slapped on top. Same structure, same headlines. They didn't even change the page numbers. More cease and desist notices went out. And here's the best part. That new pitch deck contained one of the campaign series I'd registered after the divorce under the new LLC, meaning they'd pulled it from my personal archive, probably an old shared drive Darren never locked me out of, and reused it without knowing it was protected. That alone gave us grounds for damages. I stayed quiet, but I kept building. My new team is small but tight. People I trust. Some are old colleagues who came back when they heard I was starting fresh. Others are new hires, hungry, smart, and loyal. I haven't taken a salary yet. Everything's going back into operations and growth, but we're profitable. Clients are steady. Word is spreading, and not just about the business. About how Darren mishandled everything. About how Paige ghosted halfway through a campaign because she wasn't feeling well. About how no one can get a straight answer from their so-called leadership team. The cherry on top? I got a DM from a junior designer who stayed behind. She didn't say much, just that morale was low, and that she hoped I was doing okay. She mentioned that some things aren't adding up over there. I told her I appreciated it and that I hoped she'd land somewhere better. I'm not out for blood. I'm just not rolling over anymore. There's still a long way to go: contracts, claims, paperwork. But now I'm not fighting to survive. I'm fighting because I already did. And I'm not done yet. Update 2. It's been about 3 weeks since I posted. A lot has happened. Let's start with the headline. Paige came back. I mean, really came back. She emailed first. Said she wanted to talk woman to woman. That she never wanted things to end this way. And that she hoped we could meet just once to clear the air. I didn't respond. What was there to say? She wasn't sorry when she was in my office sleeping with my husband and whispering in his ear while he took my business out from under me. I don't want closure from people who stepped on me to climb a ladder they didn't build. She followed up with another message the next day. This one was longer, rambling, said she made a mistake, she didn't expect to be cut out, and now she finally understands how much I meant to the company. Again, I ignored it. Then she showed up in person. My receptionist flagged me that someone was in the lobby asking for me by name. I looked at the monitor. It was Paige. She looked rough, makeup smudged, hair thrown up in a half bun like she'd been running errands with no plan. I told security to turn her away. She didn't make a scene, but she didn't leave fast either. Just stood there for a while, staring around the office, then left. Later that day, one of my former employees who now works freelance and still hears things sent me a screenshot from Paige's private Instagram story. It was a selfie of her sitting alone at a wine bar. Caption: "Love isn't real. Men are trash. Should have known better. Back to square one." She deleted it 10 minutes later, but the damage was already obvious. Darren cheated on her too. That part didn't surprise me. He wasn't exactly subtle. Even when we were married, I used to catch him texting just coworkers way too late at night. I didn't always investigate because I didn't want to be that kind of wife. But now, I wish I had. Might have saved me a year of fake smiles and pretending everything was fine. Anyway, from what I've pieced together, Darren's been messing around with a junior consultant, someone Paige trained, ironically. Guess she's finding out the hard way what happens when you build a relationship on betrayal. It doesn't last. It can't last. Paige got kicked out, not just from the relationship, but from the company too. Darren is running the firm alone now, and it's crashing. I started hearing from clients that they were being pitched the same recycled strategy decks over and over. Several of them reached out to me asking if they'd accidentally gotten the junior team. Nope. That's just all he has now. Then came the big one. One of my former employees, who stuck with Darren after the split, and I don't blame them, people need to survive, sent me an anonymous tip. Darren's being audited. Apparently, he never updated the business finances after the divorce. He's still been using the old credit line that was under my name, tied to the original company, which the court split but didn't completely dismantle. I had documentation showing the line was frozen right before the divorce finalized, and yet he kept spending. My source sent over a PDF of internal expenses. Darren used that business line to lease a Tesla Model X as a mobile work unit, pay for a strategy retreat in Tulum where he took Paige, hire a branding firm to revamp the logo aka slap a filter on my original design and call it innovation, pay off a personal credit card clearly not company related. Everything about it was shady. I passed it all to my lawyer, quietly. Then we passed it to the IRS. Meanwhile, I've been growing. My new firm, it's thriving. Every week I get another email from a former client asking to come back. Some said they tried to give Darren a chance out of loyalty, but it was obvious he didn't have the vision. He just copied old campaigns or pitched generic fluff. What I built can't be duplicated by someone who never understood it. It's not about branding, it's about reputation, trust, long-term thinking, none of which Darren has ever grasped. The best part? My new team is tight-knit, no drama, everyone has a voice, everyone signs clear contracts, everyone knows the mission, and this time, I don't let my guard down just because someone seems charming. I check everything. The emotional part? It's still there. I'm not over it. I probably won't be for a while. My therapist said betrayal doesn't just break your heart, it scrambles your sense of what's safe. And I've been relearning how to trust my own instincts again. I've stopped explaining myself, though. I used to replay everything in my head like it was a movie I could edit. What if I hadn't hired Paige? What if I'd checked the finances sooner? What if I hadn't let him into the business? Now, I don't care about the what ifs, I care about what's next. And what's next is this. I'm not finished yet. Because if Darren thought the audit was the end of his problems, he's about to learn otherwise. Update 3. I officially filed the lawsuit the same week my lawyer got the financial records back. Everything we needed was right there. Misuse of funds, IP theft, breach of fiduciary duty, tax inconsistencies. It was messy. I don't think Darren even realized how much he'd exposed himself by treating the business like his personal bank account. The suit included everything: illegal usage of funds from the company to pay personal debts, unauthorized charges to the company credit card, intellectual property theft from my copyrighted materials and pitch decks, Fraud for presenting the firm as a continuation of my original company when he had no rights to do so. He must have panicked because the next thing I know, his lawyer sends an email offering a settlement. It was a joke. He wanted to pay me a lump sum for my 49% and close this chapter for good. I didn't even respond to that one. My lawyer sent back a polite but direct no thanks. A few days later, a second offer came in, more money, plus a public apology clause that was so sanitized it may as well have said, "I'm sorry if you felt like I ruined your life." I rejected that one too. Then the third offer came in, and I could tell he was getting nervous. His lawyer actually called mine, trying to sound casual while asking if we'd be open to negotiating terms on the buyout structure. They offered full cash value for my shares, plus a gag order clause and a non-disparagement agreement. I told my lawyer exactly what to say. No cash, no gag order. I wanted Darren's 51%. My lawyer said he paused for a long time after hearing that, probably because he thought we were bluffing. But we weren't. We had receipts. The forensic accountant had done their job. Every trip Darren took on the company's dime, every hotel booked under the business card, every consulting dinner with page that was nothing more than a date, all of it documented. He used business funds to buy a Tesla, a full $1,200 payment labeled as client acquisition vehicle, but registered under his personal name. He paid off old credit card debt that had nothing to do with the business, thousands of dollars rerouted through shell vendor invoices, amateur-level fraud. And my personal favorite, a 4-day workshop trip to Tulum that was supposedly for Paige to scope international brand potential. She didn't even have a passport photo on her company profile until I checked 6 weeks ago. The itinerary, spa reservations, beach excursions, and a single Zoom call with a wellness coach that lasted 11 minutes. That was enough to pierce the corporate veil, as my lawyer put it. He was done. And then came the real win. Darren folded. He agreed to sign over his 51% stake in the business, making me the sole owner again. In return, I agreed to a civil settlement, meaning no criminal charges if he complied. He also signed a non-compete clause, barring him from operating in any marketing or consulting field for 5 years. That's basically career death for someone like him. He walked away with nothing but whatever was left in his personal accounts, and a vague promise that I wouldn't take it further as long as he stayed out of my way. I went to the office the next morning, the old one. The one he kept even after rebranding, probably because the lease was still under the original business name I created. He hadn't been paying rent, and the landlord had already posted a notice on the door. I unlocked it anyway. I still had the key. He never thought to change the locks. The place was mostly empty. Some desks, a whiteboard with half-finished campaign ideas that looked eerily similar to projects I'd run a year ago. A dusty coffee machine. In the corner, someone had shoved a box of my old stuff under a desk files, personal notebooks, and a framed team photo from our peak year. The frame was cracked. Looked like someone knocked it off and never bothered picking it up. I did. I didn't cry. I thought I would. I just stared at it for a minute. At my old team, all smiles. Back when I thought loyalty was something you could build from scratch. And then I laughed. Quietly. It felt absurd. Like I had time traveled to a life that never really existed. I left the photo in the box and locked the door behind me. The landlord was getting the keys anyway. My new office mine alone was already thriving. The clients that came back weren't just loyal. They were angry. Angry that someone like Darren had tried to con them with cheap knockoffs of work they loved. They were relieved to be back with the person who actually delivered results. Paige? She's completely out of the picture now. I haven't heard a single thing about her since Darren tanked. One rumor said she was applying to junior-level agency jobs again. Someone sent me a screenshot of her resume. She listed herself as co-founder of the rebranded company. It got laughed off in a local agency Slack group. She tried to play the long game and lost early. I don't care where she ends up. She's not worth the energy. Darren's probably laying low. His LinkedIn is blank now, and the website he tried to relaunch went offline last week. Maybe he's changed industries. Maybe he's hiding out, hoping people forget. I won't lie, there's some satisfaction in that. But it's not why I did any of this. This wasn't about revenge. This was about correction. About taking back what was mine, what I built, and what he thought he could steal just because I let him in. I let my guard down once. I won't do it again. The legal team's handling the rest. There are still loose threads, creditors calling, a couple of pending claims from former employees that Darren failed to pay severance. I've already forwarded them to the appropriate people. I'm not cleaning up his mess, I'm just making sure no one else gets hit by it. Right now, I'm in rebuild mode. Not the business, I've already done that. I mean me. I'm sleeping better. I've stopped checking his socials. I even had dinner with some old friends last weekend who told me, without prompting, you look like yourself again. And they're right. I do. I don't know if I'll ever be who I was before this. But I do know this. He took my business. He thought that was checkmate. But he forgot I built the board. And now, it's mine again. Final update. It's been 6 months since I took everything back. Not just the company, not just the name, but the power, the clarity, the control. The version of me who kept giving people the benefit of the doubt is dead. And honestly, good riddance. Here's how everything wrapped up. After Darren signed over his 51% stake and the non-compete agreement was locked in, I had my legal team double-check every detail. I didn't want a single thread left loose. He walked away with nothing. No role, no access, no money outside what was legally owed to him as severance bare minimum, nothing more. And no criminal charges, because I wanted to move forward. He should thank me, but I doubt he will. The first week back in the original office was strange. I didn't bring anyone with me at first, just walked in alone. The place was cold and dead, like someone had tried to copy the soul of what we built, and failed miserably. They'd left old boxes everywhere, paperwork half sorted, client folders stacked like firewood. It was obvious nobody knew what they were doing. I found a framed team photo from 2 years ago before everything went to hell shoved behind a file cabinet. Everyone smiling, me front and center, Darren with his fake charm, Paige off to the side. I almost threw it out, but something in me couldn't. Not because of them, because of the people in that photo who believed in the company I built. Within a month, I folded both companies, his disaster and my new LLC, into one, rebranded everything under my maiden name, stripped all connections to the past, new logo, new values, new systems, same work ethic, same clients who came back, one by one, relieved to be back with someone who actually knew what the hell they were doing. We lost some clients permanently during the mess. That stung. I don't blame them. When a business goes through what mine did, people jump ship. But the core ones stayed. They called it coming home. And yeah, I cried in the bathroom more than once after reading some of their messages. I built a new team from scratch, hired carefully. A lot of women, some younger folks I'm now mentoring. I don't micromanage, I let them lead, ask questions, mess up safely. No one plays politics here. No one stabs anyone in the back and gets away with it. We run tight. We move fast. We know exactly what we're doing. As for Paige, I didn't block her from getting a new job. She applied at a competitor. I could have made calls. I didn't. Let the world sort her out. From what I heard, she lasted 3 weeks before being let go. Not my problem. I don't check her socials. I don't think about her unless someone brings her up, and even then, it's a shrug. She's not even the villain anymore. Just another footnote in a story I'm already over. Darren disappeared from the industry entirely. No one's seen him at events. He deactivated everything online. I heard through the grapevine he sold his house, maybe moved out of state. There was some gossip about him trying to freelance under a fake name, but I doubt it'll stick. His reputation is done. People remember, especially in this space. What I remember is how many people told me to just settle, just move on, just start over, as if that was the easier option. It wasn't. It would have meant handing over years of my life, my sweat, my vision, just to make peace with someone who never deserved it. Instead, I stayed quiet. I built my trap. I let them think they were winning while I moved piece by piece, rebuilding the core of my business somewhere they couldn't touch. I didn't scream. I didn't beg. I didn't fight the way they expected me to. I let the facts do the work. I stopped being the nice one. That version of me was exhausted and, frankly, too trusting. What came after wasn't cold, it was focused. There's a difference. A few months ago, I launched something I'd been sitting on for years, a mentorship program for women who want to start their own firms in creative industries. I've already helped 2 teams get funding. One just signed their first client. It's not a huge program yet, but it's mine. It's honest work. No corporate buzzwords, no performative crap, just experience guidance from someone who lived the fire. Personally, I've been traveling a bit. Went to Lisbon for a retreat. Spent 2 weeks hiking in Peru. I still work. Obviously, this business will always be my baby, but I don't live inside it anymore. I finally have room to breathe. No, I'm not dating. Not yet. I'm not bitter about men, just cautious. I think I'd rather be alone than in something that feels half true. But if someone shows up who sees me, not the job title or the revenue or the resume, maybe I'll go for coffee. Until then, I'm fine. To everyone who said I was being petty or that I should have just let it go, you were wrong. This wasn't about revenge. It was about restoration. You don't get to break someone and walk away with what they bled for. You don't get to cheat, lie, and steal and think the world owes you forgiveness. That's not how it works. Not here. I don't know what Darren tells himself at night. I don't care. All I know is, I'm finally at peace. Not because I won, but because I'm no longer stuck wondering what I could have done differently. I did everything I could, and then I did more. If you're in the middle of something like this, let me say one thing. You don't need to become bitter to be better. You just need to stop giving people chances they didn't earn. Stop asking why they did it. Start asking how you'll never let it happen again. Because you will come back. Maybe not the same, maybe not softer, but stronger, smarter. And this time, no one's taking it from you. Comments. Commenter 1, wow, just wow. I'm honestly in awe. You didn't just survive, you strategized your way through hell and came out holding the deed to the building they tried to burn down. The way you handled everything, especially not reacting emotionally when Paige showed up or when Darren tried to settle, is honestly the kind of composure I dream of having. But I have to ask, wasn't there a part of you that wanted revenge? Like real, scorched earth revenge? OP's response. I'm not going to lie and say I didn't think about it. There were days I fantasized about public humiliation, lawsuits that dragged him for years, even exposing their personal lives. But that would have kept me tethered to them emotionally. I didn't want revenge, I wanted peace, power in silence. And I got it. Commenter 2. The mentorship program detail really got me. After everything you went through to take your pain and turn it into something that builds other women up, that's legacy. Do you ever worry Darren or Paige will try something again, or that people like them will keep showing up? OP's response. People like them always show up, but now I can spot them faster. I've learned how to build better boundaries that don't come with guilt. I'm not scared of Darren or Paige anymore. They had one shot, and they blew it. And to be honest, the industry is small. Word travels. They've done more damage to their own names than I ever could have. The mentorship program, that's my insurance policy. Helping smart, overlooked women avoid the mistakes I made is the one part of this mess that feels deeply worth it.